Hi, my name is Gerry Trevino, and today we're going to be taking a tour of my home studio. Following up on the video I did on my live guitar rig, I thought it'd be fun to show you guys just exactly where the magic happens. So we're going to start on one side of the room and then work our way all around the room until we get to the base of operations. First up is this wall of guitars. This guy here is a limited edition ESP LTD that they released for Sonic the Hedgehog during his 25th anniversary. As some of you guys know, I'm a pretty big Sonic fan, so it was a no-brainer picking up one of these guys. This guitar has a Seymour Duncan TB4 in the bridge and an SSL 4 quarter pound in the neck. Now this next guitar is super special. It's a Yamaha EG112, and this was actually the first ever guitar I've ever played on. Yep, this was the guitar I learned Ocean Avenue on, and countless other songs. It belonged to my Tio William, and he was kind enough to let me borrow it back in the day when I first wanted to learn how to play guitar. He's unfortunately no longer with us, but before he passed away he actually gave me this guitar, so I have it here as sort of a memento of him. This guitar has a Seymour Duncan JB in the bridge, a Classic Stack Plus in the middle position, and a Jazz in the neck. Okay, next up is a Billy Joe Armstrong signature Gibson Les Paul Jr. I'm a big Green Day fan, and this is the guitar that Billy Joe played during the Uno Dos Tres era. You know the one.
Give me a fucking break. 1 minute left. You're gonna give me fucking 1 minute? You gotta be fucking joking. This is a fucking joke. Let me show you what 1 fucking minute fucking means.
Now, I'm sure that you guitar guys have seen Gibson make headlines time and time again recently, considering quality control, lawsuits, and even bankruptcy. This guitar was really the first indication of all of that for me because I'm sad to say that this guitar kind of sucks. It's just riddled with all sorts of problems like fret buzz and intonation issues. And I know that you can't really intonate a wraparound bridge, so that's why I switched it out for one of these things, but it still doesn't stay in tune. And this pickup, oh god, this thing is fucking balls. This is what Gibson calls their H90 pickup, which is supposed to be like a traditional P90, but without all of the 60 cycle hum that those pickups are typically known for. I believe they achieved this by stacking 2 single coils on top of each other, and it makes sense for someone like Billy Joe since he plays with a lot of distortion. But when I plug the thing in, it sounds like this. And just for comparison's sake, here's that Yamaha again with the Classic Stack Plus, which is supposed to be the same sort of stacking thing. I've checked the guitar time and time again to see if there's any sort of grounding issue, but everything seems fine, so this pickup is just fucked, I guess. Now, after all of my complaining, you're probably wondering to yourself, if the guitar sucks so bad, why didn't you just return it when you first got it? And to that I say, well, I was just too excited about the fact that I had a Billy Joe signature, and I just kept lying to myself and said it was great. Well, now that I'm much older and don't even really play punk rock all that much anymore, I can safely say that this guitar sucks ass. I don't know, maybe one day I'll get it fixed up, but for now, it just sits on the wall. Okay, sorry about my rant. Next up is this PV Rockmaster guitar with a big old decal of Spider-Man on it. I'm also a huge Spider-Man fan, so I actually got this guitar just for novelty's sake. This guitar isn't too bad, actually. It plays pretty well, and I think I threw a Seymour Duncan distortion in there. And finally, behind all of the guitars are some RLX Studioform wedges to help control some of the flutter echo in the room. Right next to the guitars is one of my studio lights. There's the other one on the other side. These two softboxes are part of a kit that I got on Amazon years ago for like $100, and I'm actually still using the same bulbs that originally came with the kit. Behind this light is a Captain America shield, and above that is a super cool Yellow Card inspired gift that my brother made for me. Yellow Card is and always will be my favorite band of all time, so I have a bunch of YC goodies all around the room, like these wall flags on my closet doors and these signed booklets right above it. Now, it probably looks really stupid to have my lights covering the shield and the bookshelf, and it does, admittedly so, but all that stuff was up before I decided to hang my lights, and hey, not having to set up my lights every time I want to shoot a video makes my life a breeze, so I'll take convenience over aesthetics any day. Like I said, this is my closet. Nothing really special in here other than some shelves, boxes, and more black shirts than I care to admit. Next is the bookshelf where I keep various pedals, amp heads, and of course, a bunch of other nerdy goodness. On the bottom, I have a couple of amps. The one on top is a Line 6 DT25, a vastly underrated amp in my opinion. I'm hoping to make a video on this guy one day. The other amp is a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier. This is the multi-watt version, so I'm able to switch between 50 and 100 watts. Next to the bookshelf are some plastic drawers where I store patch cables and microphones and things like that. Nothing too interesting. On top of the plastic drawers, however, I have a power strip that I use to turn the studio lights on and off. Above that is where I store all of my cables. I made this out of some pegboard and some hooks that I got from Home Depot for not very much money. It keeps everything tidy without looking too distracting. This guitar rack has all of the guitars and basses that I use most often for tracking. Up first is this Squier Jaguar bass. For how inexpensive this bass is, it sounds pretty amazing. I needed another bass for all of my Drop C stuff, so I went to my local guitar center and tried out all of the basses that they had under $500, and this one beat them all out. The only thing I changed on this guy was the pickups. This has the EMG PJX pickups in it. This next bass is a Mexican Fender Jazz bass. This was the first ever thing I bought with my money when I was working at McDonald's, which was actually my first job ever. This also happens to be the first ever bass that I got, and this thing has been rock solid after all these years. Again, the only thing I changed on this was the pickups. This has the EMG JX pickups in it. This last bass is a Schecter Stiletto Stealth 5. Amazing bass. I use this to accompany all of the 7-string stuff that I write. This one is actually completely stock. Haven't changed a thing to it. This guitar is a Gibson Les Paul Studio that my parents got for me for my 15th birthday. This was my first high-end guitar. Yeah, back in the day, Gibson actually made great guitars. But in all seriousness, this one is very special to me. I wanted this specific guitar because it was very similar to the one that Ryan Key from Yellow Card was playing during the Lights and Sounds Paper Walls era. This has a Seymour Duncan JB in the bridge and a 59 in the neck. This next guitar is actually my most recent purchase. This is a Schecter C7 SLS Elite, and this is probably the best playing guitar that I own currently. It has Fishman Fluence modern humbuckers in it, and just look at it. It's so beautiful. Next up is one of my Schecter Hellraisers. I actually get a lot of questions on this guitar like, whoa, what kind of Schecter is that? Is that a custom shop model? But nope. This actually started life out as a regular old Hellraiser. The only thing I changed to this guy is the hardware and the pickups. As you can see, it has gold hardware, and this also has Fishman Fluence modern humbuckers in it. Finally, this is my other Schecter Hellraiser. Same idea with this one. I switched out the black chrome hardware that comes stock with the guitar for black hardware, and this has the Tosin Abasi Fishman Fluence pickups in it. Next to the guitars is a PV6505 Plus. This amp actually belongs to a friend of mine, and he's just lending it to me at the moment. I really only use this guy when I'm doing a pickup demo or something like that, because you wouldn't believe how many negative comments I get about using modelers when demoing pickups. Great amp though. Underneath him is a Mesa Rectifier 212 cabinet. This is the cab that I'm currently using for my live shows, and it sounds huge. Okay, this hunk of junk is my air conditioner. I really hate this thing because it's so loud and it just looks awful in all of my shots. I mean, just look at it. Like, oh God. But this room gets incredibly hot during the summertime, so it's either deal with this thing or sweat my balls off. and I'm actually still planning on using those for the time being. It's hiding underneath this table thing I made out of some cheap oak wood that I got from Home Depot, and on top of that is where my laptop sits. This is a 2015 13-inch MacBook Pro, and this is the heart and soul of my recording setup. I do everything on this guy, and it has yet to fail me. Behind it, you can see a Nintendo Switch dock and Pro controller. If it wasn't obvious enough already, I'm a huge Nintendo guy, and during my downtime, I'll play some Switch in here. All of that hooks up to the base of operations. I guess I'll start with the desk. This is a Studio Trends 46-inch studio desk. This is the desk that you always see at places like Guitar Center and places like that. This desk is cool because it has two 4U bays right on top of it, and it's pretty solid. My only complaint is that the holes where the screws go into in the original rack rails didn't line up properly with any of the gear that I tried to install on it, so I unfortunately had to switch them out. On the left side, you can see a Furman M8X2 power conditioner. This is what everything gets powered by. Below that is a Focusrite Claret 4Pre Thunderbolt 2 audio interface, which is what I'm using as my main audio interface. Next to that is a radial reamp box and a J48 DI box. I use those guys for all things DI and reamping when I need them. And to finish out the left side is a 2 Notes Torpedo Live. I use this load box whenever I need to track any of the tube amps I mentioned earlier. On the right side is a Korg pitch black tuner that goes into my tried and true Line 6 Helix rack. I love this thing and use it for just about everything. That's connected to the Focusrite via SPDIF to avoid any unnecessary digital to analog conversion. On top of the desk is a BenQ BL3200 PT. This 32-inch monitor outputs a 1440p resolution, and it's freaking gorgeous. Next to that is a Line 6 Relay G10 wireless system that I'll use whenever I'm tracking ideas or whenever I feel like jamming on the Helix. It makes my life super easy. All of the audio eventually runs through these Adam A7Xs. These studio monitors sound incredible, and the high end is brilliant thanks to Adam's X Art tweeters. Exploring the rest of the desk, you'll see a USB 3.0 hub, a Logitech K750 wireless Solar keyboard, and a Logitech MX Ergo wireless trackball mouse. This desk doesn't come with a keyboard tray, but I installed my own so I could have a place to store my M-Audio Oxygen 49 MIDI keyboard. Next to that is a pair of Audio-Technica ATH M50X headphones. I've been using these guys for years, and if any of you are looking for a great pair of headphones to mix on, I highly recommend these. On the ground, you can see a Helix rack controller that I'm using to control the Helix rack. Behind that, you can see a 5U unit that isn't really serving any purpose other than to hold up a couple of hard drives and the dock that I use to connect everything. Inside the rack is a piled power conditioner and the Behringer ADA 8200. Again, I really don't use it for anything right now, but it's there should I ever need more preamps. On top of the rack to the left is a 4TB G drive that I use to store a bunch of old movie files and projects. In the middle is an OWC Thunderbolt 2 dock that I'm using to connect my monitor, the Focusrite Claret, the USB hub, and hard drives to my MacBook. And finally to the right is a Western Digital 2TB drive that I use to back up my computer. Behind my desk sitting on the wall are a few bass traps that I made for not very much money. The mighty Glenn Fricker over at Spectre Sound Studios has a great tutorial on how you can make some of these yourself, so be sure to check that out. Last thing to mention is my camera. I'm using a Panasonic GH4 to film everything. The lenses that I use are a Lumix 20mm f1.7 lens and a Sigma 17-50mm f2.8 lens, with a Metabone speed booster attached to it. And I think that about does it. If there's anything that I missed, or if you have any questions about any piece of gear that I covered, be sure to leave them in the comments below and I'll answer them the best that I can. I hope you enjoyed taking a look inside my world where I make all of these awful guitar videos for you to watch. Be sure to leave a like if you like this video and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any juicy content like this one. It really helps out the channel. For more guitar videos like this one, head over to my channel, hit subscribe, and I will see you next time.